Community Conversations. This morning, we're going to talk about the World Wide Web in ways that we probably haven't talked about it before. Tom Heatherington is my guest. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, John. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Tell me a little bit about how you got involved in this World Wide Web and the Internet and all the things that you do.
Well, I'm going to show my age here, but way back in 1992, I had been online before then, CompuServe and Prodigy and stuff like that. So I was familiar.
Oh, my gosh, I'd even forgotten those names.
Oh, yeah.
CompuServe.
Yeah. Hey, you're going back 20 plus years, if you think about it. That was early 91, 92, 93.
Didn't Sears own CompuServe?
They may have acquired it, yeah.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And CompuServe was the biggest thing in the world at that time.
Yeah.
And then, we had other things come and go, the AOLs and some of those other companies. And it's really kind of funny, but a friend of mine who was a real geek, much more plugged into this stuff than I was. My background was sales and marketing. And he was telling me about this internet thing that was just about to go public and how that we could open up and be our own internet service provider and so on. And the more we looked into it, the more excited we all got, and we decided to do it. And so we were in Dallas-Fort Worth at the time, and we launched an ISP called PICNet, Professional Internet Consulting Network. And the rest, as they say, is history.
I'll be darned. So how did you wind up here in Northwest Montana?
Well, we sold PICNet in the mid-'90s, but I think it was 96 or 7. And so from that point forward, I'd been involved in a couple internet startups and done some internet-related business, always in the business. And I picked up a client who just happened to have a summer place up here, and they had invited us up a couple times. And after, you know what it's like, you come up here, you visit, you fall in love with the place, and pretty soon we just figured out this is the place to be.
Now, just for full disclosure here now, Tom's wife, Laura Heatherington, is very, very much involved in the Humane Society of Northwest Montana.
That's
and
right.
Your heart's there too, isn't it, Tom?
Oh, yeah. I get volunteered for things just about every weekend.
Okay, now, so here we are with this World Wide Web, and, the amazing thing is we have so many possibilities, but so far we really haven't figured out exactly how to make everything work. I mean, people were thinking, well, by now we'd all be listening to the radio on the internet, and we're not.
Well, it's like anything else, John. Everything's got a cost. And justifying that return on investment is difficult, regardless of what kind of business you're doing. The thing about internet is the way the different shifts of things have happened. Audio was introduced on the internet back in the mid-'90s. Mark Cuban's group with streaming media invented that, and then it was a few years later, and then we had the same thing happen with video and so on. But learning how to monetize those things and how to deliver them in such a way that they actually have a return on investment, that's been difficult for a lot of companies.
And on top of that, we have music licensing companies and things like that, and some other groups now that have said, whoa, time out here. You're utilizing our ideas. You're utilizing our copyrighted material. Mm-hmm. We want money for it.
Right.
So all of a sudden, just for the example of radio stations online, Pandora is one that is certainly one of the most popular right now in what they call the pure play. That means you can pretty much choose what music you want to hear on Pandora. Almost 90% of their money that they take in goes to licensing fees. And you can't stay in business when you're dealing with stuff like that.
Right. Well, there's been a lot of models that have been tried online that, look good on paper, and in the execution, they just fail to live up to expectations.
But what does seem to be working here are a couple of things. First of all, businesses that do business online. That seems to be working. When you're, for example, many of our local businesses, Army-Navy store, for example, and they've got stores in Whitefish and Kalispell. They're doing a huge business online right now.
That's true. And the thing you got to remember, even if you don't do business online, you're not selling a product online, you still have to have that online presence.
Exactly.
Because, if you think about it today, whether you're buying tires or figuring out where to have a sandwich for lunch, you're going to go online and search for it. And if you don't have a presence there, if somebody searched for a sandwich shop or new tires or whatever it is they're looking for, if they don't find you, you're not getting that business. It's that simple.
This is kind of an electronic yellow pages here that's constantly changing.
That's exactly what it is. Most people today, last survey I saw, most people can't even tell you where their yellow pages is in their house. We don't use it anymore. Who do you know that does not have a smartphone today? just about everybody you run into. And so the point is that whatever the question is, you want to find out what the weather is or where to go or where that sandwich shop is, you just check on your smartphone and you find it.
It's simple as that. And we'll talk about a way that we can utilize that here in just a little bit. I wanted to return back to some of the things that we're talking about. Tom is helping us launch our brand new website, which we're going to do here in the next few days, KGEZ.com. We were able, first of all, through Tom's help, to reacquire that name, which we lost. We didn't lose it, but somebody else did. And kind of got taken away, and then somebody online decided they could make thousands and thousands of dollars conning us with it, and doggone it, they almost did.
Yeah. That's a pretty big business online. It's called domain squatting. People look for domains that the second they expire, they grab them, and then they try to hold you hostage for it to buy it back.
Yeah, so we've kind of bought up a bunch of them. We've got KGEZ.com, KGEZ.net, 600KGEZ.com, 600KGEZ.net, and
you're protecting your brand.
Yeah.
And, the domains are $10. So the idea of getting anything that's related to your domain, even if you never use it, you're just keeping somebody else from grabbing it.
Right. And in this case, a 4-letter domain, those are perceived as being very valuable.
They're premium.
Yeah. The problem is that KGEZ, unless this has some meaning, in Swahili or something, probably isn't of much value to anybody, which I guess you were able to convince our friends there.
Fortunately.
Okay. Anyway, KGEZ.com getting ready to launch here this week, and we're going to be doing some exciting things with it, some on-demand programming, which will be really neat. Of course, we'll be we're now the voice of the Flathead Braves, and so we're going to be able to do live streams of the Flathead Braves games for you. So if you're out of town, you can listen to those live, or we're going to be able to make it possible for you to listen to the game. So sort of like your DVR, you can go on and you can start it anytime you want. You can listen to it. You can pause it. You can come back and listen to it again later.
Exactly. That's going to be exciting, John.
Yeah, it really is. And we're going to also be featuring the George Ostrom News and Comment, our 7 o'clock news, and some other features that we do here on the radio station. So for folks who like to snowbird, for example, and you're not in this time zone anymore, you don't have to worry about what time it is. You can check in with 600 KGEZ anytime you want. My guest is Tom Heatherington, and we're talking about the Internet and how to do business on the Internet. We talked about some of the other things, but Tom has a business called the Flathead Guide, and this is one of those wonderful shortcuts to making sure that your business is the one that people see when they're looking for that sandwich shop or whatever it is. Tell me about the Flathead Guide and how it works, Tom.
Okay, John, it's really it was one of those projects that's been on my back burner for, many, many years. I've been involved with helping businesses online for the last 10, 12 years as a consultant. And when you're doing an SEO project for somebody,
SEO, we should...
Search engine optimization.
Okay.
You're trying to make sure that their website turns up in search results. And one of the very first things you got to do is get some good, strong local links from local businesses and related organizations pointing to that website. Google puts a whole lot of faith in those kinds of links.
And I think the first thing you told me when we sat down is this is Google's world and they allow us to live in it.
That's right. And then really that's the key. If you make them happy, then they'll make you happy by displaying your website and search results and sending traffic to you, which is the whole name of the game.
Now, the idea is when you Google in something, when you Google in KGEZ, we want to come up first.
Right.
Yeah.
And so does every business. And usually that's the tough part is that most people don't search on a brand name. They search on a solution or a product. I'm looking for blue widgets, or I'm looking for a local restaurant or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so you want to optimize for those search terms that people actually look for. But the other end of the SEO is the local links. Extremely, extremely important. And for years, I've been thinking, my gosh, I should just develop a local directory just to, if nothing else, give my clients a leg up in these SEO projects. So one thing led to another, and the end of last year, I launched the Flathead Guide, which is basically a digital directory of Flathead Valley businesses. And it comes with a whole lot of benefits, both seen and unseen, for a business. First and foremost, it costs $4 a month.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, well, I did that on purpose. My objective is to get every business in the Valley online with the Flathead Business Directory.
$4 a month, that's not even a lunch.
No, No,
That's not even a gallon of gas.
Well, that's my point. I wanted it to be a no-brainer for businesses. So I didn't want them to have to be thinking they've got to shuffle marketing dollars and so on. For $4, you don't think about it. But what the Flathead Guide does, and here's a couple really important things. Most people aren't aware that when you do a search for a particular product or service or whatever, if you do it on your desktop PC or you do it on your tablet or your smartphone, Google's going to give you different results. And your smartphone, it's trying to give you smartphone optimized results. And so your listing in the Flathead Guide has a tendency to show more in the smartphone search results, which means a customer lands on your listing in a Flathead Guide, and all they've got to do is tap your phone number to be talking to you.
You know, in this day and age, how many of us, we go shop for something, the first thing we do is go online and get some information?
You know, it's funny, but even if somebody here's an ad, a radio ad or a TV ad, the very first thing they do is then hop online to get more information about that. So it's one of those things that you don't just say, well, I'm already advertising on KGEZ. No, you have to you have to do these other things, like I said when I started this conversation, to make Google happy. And those links are one of the things that does it.
Well, let's just say, for example, you're going to buy a car. Chances are now you're going to do quite a bit of research on those cars before you actually visit a dealer. Now, this creates a couple of things in my mind, and tell me if I'm wrong here, Tom, but it seems to me that, first of all, when you walk into a car dealership, you know an awful lot about that car before you even walk in the door. You may actually have already made a buying decision. You say, this is the car I want. This is the car and model I want. And I even know a little bit about how much I expect to pay for it.
I'm here to pick out a color. I know which one I want.
Yeah.
No, that's very true. And so once we understand that, then the objective of a business is to do enough of those things that helps get them to list above their competitors. And things like good SEO, good practices on your website, and a pleasant design. You know, when you build a website, you do it for two things. You do it for the people who land on your website, so you give them the information they're looking for. And then you do it to keep Google happy. And one of those other things that you do to keep Google happy is to have these other local listings, and that's where the Flathead Guide comes in.
Okay. Now, you use those little thingies that you just sort of snap with your smartphone, and it goes right there?
Here's the advantage. It's not an app. An app has to be downloaded. So basically, you've got to be marketing the app to get people's attention to download. This is a website. So if somebody just goes to their browser on their smartphone and types in whatever it might be, those search terms, then they have a chance of seeing a Flathead Guide listing right there in their browser. So it's accessible from desktop, laptop, table, PC, whatever.
So if you go to, just to say, for example, if you just go to flatheadguide.com, here's all those listings.
There, that's right. And on the guide, you can search by category or keyword or whatever.
So if you want a restaurant, you start with restaurant, Italian, and you probably come up with Scotty Belli's.
Exactly.
You go on, for example, I could just go on and on here with examples and get myself into a ream of trouble here, but you get the idea.
Well, let me give you the best example. Was last week I was looking at my Google Analytics, and your neighbor right here, Gardner's RV, I was surprised that I had so many searches for RV, and those for RV campgrounds and gardeners and so on and so on. So I looked at it more. Well, Gardeners had received like 19 clicks in the last 30 days. Now, that's not record-breaking traffic, but those are 19 visitors that they wouldn't have gotten any other way because they obviously clicked on the Flathead Guide listing before they clicked on the Gardeners RV listing. So that's business they may have missed, and if they were advertising that, like through pay-per-click or something, they would have been paying $2 or $3 a click. That could have been $70 expense just to get those customers. Here they
and whether or not they buy.
Yeah, I mean, that $1 click could have walked in there and bought a $100,000 RV. You know, we don't know those things, but the point is, the objective is to get traffic to the website and to make the phone ring, and that's what the Flathead Guide does.
My guest is Tom Heatherington. We're talking about the World Wide Web, and Tom has designed the new KGEZ.com site, which is going to make a debut in the early days of next week. We can't wait for you to see what it all looks like. I think you're going to be very pleased. But in the meantime, his business, Flathead Guide, is a way for us, both as consumers and as business people in the area, to get connected, to find what we need. It's sad to me that people go out of town to buy things because they're not sure it's available here locally. And that's not good for us. That's not good for our economy. And we can work around that a little bit now. Perhaps the Flathead Guide is one of those keys.
Well, the Flathead Guide is like any other search result. The objective is to capture the search queries when people type them in. So whether it is a local product, and that conversely, it works the other way. Somebody from out of town could be searching for something in our particular area and find the listing in the Flathead Guide.
Wow. But the Flathead Guide is pretty much our businesses here.
It is our businesses. We're not talking about Missoula or Billings or any place else. It is Northwest Montana.
Or that crazy car dealership out in Wallace, Idaho.
Yeah. Nope, they're not involved. I've had inquiries from people wanting to advertise and do things, and we just don't take them. We're focused only on the Flathead Valley.
And I think that's a key element here, too, because I think most of our businesses understand that we live and die based on what we do here in the Flathead Valley.
Well, John, think about it. I mean, we've got hundreds of thousands of people that work and live in this area, but we've got millions coming in here. And as Diane had said earlier, what are they leaving? About $3 million here in the area every single year. Well, if you can position yourself so when somebody's looking for a product or service that you sell and you show up in a Flathead Guide and they wind up calling your business, you're getting your piece of the pie.
Okay. That's it, the Flathead Guide. There's some other areas of the guide, too, that you want to tell us about.
Well, the neatest thing about it is it's like a mini website. Each listing, you have an opportunity to upload photos for a little photo slideshow, so you could have products or people, whatever you wanted. All of your contact information, as lengthy a description as you want to add. You can add other photos, videos. I mean, basically, it's a mini website with all the features of a smartphone. So somebody just taps your email to send you an email or taps your phone number to call you. So it's got all the functionality that a smartphone delivers in a mini website.
Okay, so this is one of those ways that you can make money off of the World Wide Web without investing a ton of your own money into it.
That's correct.
Boy, I know companies, in fact, I worked for one in New York City, that we invested, I don't know how many $100 million in trying to develop business on the World Wide Web. And, I don't believe I left the company, 7-8 years ago now, and they still haven't done it.
Mm-hmm. Now, I've got a whole lot of stories like that people that have thrown huge sums of money at an idea, and the idea just didn't develop.
This is one of those where you don't throw much money at it at all, and it is developing and it is working.
Well, the greatest benefit to a business here is not so much that we're going to send you hordes of traffic every single day. The biggest benefit is you've got that link from a local website, which increases the value of your primary website. And so when somebody does a search for your products or services, your listing in Flathead Guide actually helps to move your website up in the search results. There's the real benefit.
Okay, my gosh. Anything else we need to know?
It's flatheadguide.com, and it's $4 a month, and I'd love to have every business in the valley as a listing.
Okay, there you go, folks. That's the deal. We're in there with you.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, the KGEZ's in there with you, and we do believe that that's a great way to do it, and to keep the business local, too. That's another great way to do that.
Exactly. That was the whole objective.
Tom Heatherington's been my guest this morning on Glacier Bank's Community Conversations.